Every great move of God occurred because there was a man or woman that was willing to stand up and be courageous. Amen. A man or woman that was willing to be strong and be courageous. Matter of fact, look at your neighbor and say, be strong, be courageous. Now, you said it because I said it, but look at somebody else, say, be strong and be courageous. Now, that is a word for a transitioning time in history. Because when Moses died, amen, God raised up his successor, and he said 4 times in the first chapter of Joshua, be strong, be courageous. Now, if Joshua couldn't, God wouldn't have said it. And because he said it to Joshua, I believe he's saying it to us today. He's saying that you can be strong and you can be courageous. That means that whatever you face, you don't face it from a position of trying to get the victory, but you face it from a position of victory. Because he said something to to Joshua. He says, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. So God is saying, as I was with Joshua, I'll be with you. Look at your neighbor and say, he's still with me. Now, today I want to continue. We're in a series entitled Courage to Stand, Courage to Change. Somebody say courage to stand, courage to change. Now, there's a part that I didn't put in that topic because you'll never change until you're willing to stand and confront the opposition or confront the thing that's not working any longer in your life that you're trying to hold on to. Why continue to try to work something when it done dried up? In other words, you've got to see how vital, amen, courage is. Look at your neighbor, say it matters. Now, watch this. Write this down. It takes courage to stay when it really would be easy to leave. Now, that's for somebody. God is saying you're in a relationship where you're willing to leave, you're wanting to leave, but it's going to take courage to stay. Somebody catch that tomorrow. I said it takes courage to stay when it would be easier to what? Leave. Do you not know it's always easier to leave? But it takes courage to what? See, a lot of time we're faced with things where we're really wanting to walk away. But you got to be like Miss Rosa Parks. You got to say, I'm not giving up my seat anymore. I'm going to sit here regardless of what it costs me. In other words, her courage changed the course of history. Amen. Dr. Martin Luther King, his courage changed the course of history. Nelson Mandela, his courage changed, amen, the course of history. In other words, who knows if you are not the next person that God wants to stand up and be the person that will help bring about the transformation that is needed today. Come on, somebody. See, look at your neighbor, say, if you run now, you may never stop. See, there's a lot of people that are running away instead of stopping. Look at your neighbor and say, if you don't stop now, you will probably keep on running. See, courage is not courage if there's not a commitment to it. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, courage is impossible because, he says, courage is important because without courage, no one will stand up for their belief. He says that if you are not standing as a courageous person, you will start compromising in your belief. In other words, things that you thought you believed. Because watch this, belief is when you're arguing over something. But conviction is when you're willing to die for it. In other words, you've got to be willing to die for your conviction. Come on, somebody. And God is looking for men and women that are willing to be courageous. Matter of fact, let's look at Matthew. Amen. We'll look at 3 scriptures, and then we're going to teach you some principles today. Amen. And we're talking about courage is necessary. Look at your neighbor, says necessary. Let me tell you what, it is going to be difficult these days to stand firm in your persuasion and your conviction for Christ if you don't have no courage. Because things will become more challenging and opposition will come because the system is trying to get you to denounce your conviction. Amen. What you believe. So you've got to make up in your mind that I'm going to stand on my conviction. I'm going to be a light that sitteth upon a hill that will guide people in darkness. Yesterday I was at what event downtown? Arts in the Heart. I had to go to a church. I was part of a elevation for a pastor yesterday. So we've got granddaddy and grandma on duty this weekend because Janice is out of town. So Sarah was performing, so I went down to the Arts in the Heart, and while I was waiting on her, Auntie, she was not too far away from it, but I kind of just stood, and because I figured if I positioned myself, I could see Sarah going and coming, and I did. But not only there were so many people that stopped and talked with me along the way as I was standing there. Not because of just being Richard Peoples, but because of my conviction. In other words, people are looking for people that are willing to stand. Regardless, there are people I saw that's part of this church that hadn't been out for years. And they stop by and say, Pastor, I know. In other words, I represented something to them. In other words, what are you representing to the world? What are you representing to people? In other words, you've got to be willing to stand. Amen. Courage is what? Necessary. Amen. Now, watch this. Matthew 14:27 from the NIV. Listen what Jesus said. Amen. It says, but Jesus immediately said to them. In other words, this was the time that Jesus come walking upon water in the middle of the night, and they were afraid. They thought they had seen a ghost. And Jesus said, do what? Take courage. What is he saying? Whatever you're facing in life, whatever may come your way that you didn't know anything about it, take courage. He said, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear, but courage is living life above fear. I didn't stutter. I said, courage is not the absence of fear, but is living life above fear. Because fear may be there, but you don't have to succumb to it. Come on. He says, take courage, it is I. In other words, when you set out to do what God has put in your heart and you're facing some challenges and dilemmas in life and you're about ready to give up, the Lord will remind you, it is I. Take courage, it is I. In other words, I'm with you to see you through it. I just need you to follow through. Amen?